You know, my wife thinks I'm crazy because I'm always thinking about, oh, what kind of prop am I going to use, for the service? And I'm going to miss the light. That's okay. We'll just come out here for a little bit. And I got this idea of this globe this week. You remember these, right? I went to elementary school in a little town called Hillbrant, North Carolina. My first grade teacher was Miss Hall. My second grade teacher was Miss Roney. We had a lot of fun with that name. Miss Deal was my third grade teacher. Somewhere in that elementary school experience, I encountered one of these things. I think it was actually my second grade class. Could be wrong, but somewhere in that time frame, I encountered a globe. And without trying to sound funny or anything, I would have to say that it was my first worldview. Because, you're looking at this and you're trying to say, oh, this is our world that we live in. And then the questions start coming like, well, where am I out on the globe? So we turned over here, and at the time I was in North Carolina. And so the teacher or whoever I think told me, probably the teacher, so we're right here in this area. But then you step back and you look and you say, well, gosh, there's all this whole other area. And, my grandma lives down here in Florida, and I've got another aunt that lives over here in Tennessee. I've been to Georgia and South Carolina. But look at all the rest of this world, and look at the top of the world. And look at the bottom of the world. What's down here? And then, then the curious questions start coming, like, well, gosh, how come these guys down here don't just fall off into space? And why aren't we all leaning to one side or another? If the world really looks like this, how are we able to even stand up straight, except if we are on the very top of the world? I was born in Hawaii. My dad was a Marine. He was stationed over there. So I was born way over here. I was like, wow, I was born in the middle of the ocean. I thought that was really cool. And then you get a little bit mischievous, and you're thinking, little second grade boys, they get around, let's give these folks a spin. Woo! Let's go for a ride. Yay! So you're looking at them and you're thinking, okay, you're going to spin it so fast, they're going to fly off into space. Little imaginations, little torturous imaginations, I guess. I don't know. Then you say, well, let's wipe out China today, for whatever reason. I don't know if our globe in our classroom had this, but I thought this was interesting to, be able to tilt the globe a little bit on its axis. By the way, I want to give a special thank you to my friend Darlene Sullivan, who's a teacher at Lewis and Clark Elementary in Liberty, Missouri. She was kind enough to let me borrow this globe for this demonstration. But this right here probably defines the experience more than anything, because it fixes our view of the world. This controls everything. From this perspective, this is how we see the world. So are we looking at our own worlds with a fixed perspective? One of the coolest things I saw a couple of years ago on the internet was they were trying to determine what was the farthest 2 points across from each other across water. So I was looking at the globe. I was saying, well, you got China over here, and you got the United States over here, Mexico over here. So you sort of look and you're trying to think, well, where's the farthest part? You know, if I'm looking around the globe, where's it going to be? Is it going to be here? Is it going to be over here? That looks pretty far. You know, maybe down here a little bit further. But no. The farthest part across water goes from here I've got to find it here. I'll find it. There we go. To from here to here. And if you were to draw a line, a straight line across the globe, it would come across and it would come up to right here. We don't see it that way because we have a fixed perspective. And we're trying to define that category by how we are viewing the world right now. But if you look, and you turn the world over a little bit, you can sort of see how that works. And if you flip to my next slide, you can get a better idea. I tried to get an animation of it because it was really cool. You can see how that straight line goes from Pakistan all the way to the Siberian Peninsula of Russia. Really interesting. But we don't think like that because we're sort of transfixed on the world looking like this. Another really cool observation that I had was, I remember as a kid I used to think, wow, if I was at the top of the world, I could walk in a circle and I've walked around the world. And then I realized, just as I was putting this talk together, by this definition, all of these latitude lines, longitude lines that are defining the world, they only represent one perspective of the world. But who's to say that wherever I'm at in this world, at that particular point, if I walk around in a circle and you were to draw lines out from this circle, they would encompass the globe. From my perspective, I don't have to travel to the North Pole to walk around the world. I can walk around the world right here. Of course, we all know the center of the world's Unity Center in Leavenworth, right? Jerusalem used to think that they were the center of the world. So we've let that define us, what the top of the world is, what the bottom of the world is. Of course, you know, we don't really see many pictures of the world like this, do we? It's all because we have a fixed perspective. One that we didn't even create. One that was just introduced to us as children. This perspective was introduced to us. I don't even know who decided to put the globe on a tilt. I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure we could research it, maybe find out. But doesn't this represent some of our situations in our life? Don't we sort of come at things from a fixed perspective? Don't we have a preconceived worldview of what we think our life or our situation? Let's look at this as a situation. Are we coming at the situation from preconceived notions? What we think it should look like? Are we allowing other people or other situations or circumstances to define the whole experience? Or are we able to step back and say, you know, I sort of like the situation like this. That works for me. May not work for you. But I like it. Looks sort of cool to have Antarctica sort of pointing out there in front of everybody. This big white spot. You don't see pictures of the globe like that. So allow these countries and these symbols on this map to sort of represent maybe people, places, and things in your life. And are you approaching every situation and circumstance from the right angle? Or are you locked into your preconceived notions? It's a beautiful little metaphysical prop, isn't it? That'd be great. It's fun to spin it around too. Let's go for a ride, guys. Hold on. In the end, we get to choose. We can accept the status quo.
You just raced through it all.
Oh, wow. I do that. I hit we can accept the status quo, or we can choose to change it to our liking. Changing our perspective. But not everybody's going to be comfortable with maybe our new perspective. Does that resonate with some of the things that are happening in your life right now? It's the same situation. The situation's still there, but how we view it can be completely different. So, yesterday at our board retreat, that's what it was all about. It was about changing our perception, our perspective. Not necessarily for the idea of changing the perspective, but the idea of at least looking at our perspective and saying, is this still our perspective? Is this still who we are? Is this still what we want to be as a faith community? Rick elaborated to some of the things that we did yesterday. It's a very sacred experience. I loved from the very beginning when we opened in prayer, we didn't say amen. We allowed the whole retreat to be our prayer. So for the better part of 6 hours, we were in a prayerful consciousness, which included lunch and breakfast, which is great. And then we did the art of saging and smudging the church, which Rick alluded to. And I want to thank Brenda for bringing the sage and the incense and the meditation tapes, and for everybody who brought themselves, their love and their energy to this retreat. We walked around every room. And the idea of saging is to purify. It was an ancient shaman technique that used to purify and release the energies, the negative energies to spirit. They were released into the atmosphere. And so as we went through the church, we wanted to bless every space. We even went into our utility room. We went into our storeroom. We blessed every inch of the church, and each board member followed along, and we each were part of that space. And then we went into the meditation room, the aquarium room, and we had this very powerful meditation. And after we had this meditation, we came together, and as Rick shared, we talked about who we were, what brought us to unity, what brought us here to this community. And then we started thinking about, well, what is unity? And I'm going to bring this over here if I can. Forgive my chicken scratches handwritings, but it is what it is. But we looked at our faith, and we decided we were going to lay it all out on the table. We were going to see what we liked about our faith of unity, or what we liked about the faith of unity worldwide, and how we sort of define faith. When I said faith here, I was thinking of the concepts and the ideas of the unity faith. So some of the things that we liked about it were, we liked the direct relationships of our faith, the direct relationship to God. We liked the diversity of our relationship, of our faith. We liked the idea of oneness. We liked the positive affirmative attitudes that are supported here. You're not a worthless sinner. You are an unlimited child of God. We teach prosperity. Self-actualization. We make our own reality. We love the 12 powers. Ecumenism, which is a word that Sue gave us. Ability to question. That probably to me was one of the biggest things, because growing up in a fixed religion, I couldn't question, or I would be ostracized or chastised, or that's the way it is. You know that. So the ability to question was very important to us. Some of the things we didn't like about our faith, and this might be able to be discussed, with Unity Worldwide Ministries, bureaucracy. Do we really like the bureaucracy of organized religion? Law of attraction was a big discussion and a question. It was not really meant to go over here so much in the not so likes, but there was questions about exactly what it was. So it really belongs right here in the middle. We didn't like the fact that they had closed the School of Christianity as an on-campus school. It's an all-online school now. We didn't like the impression and how it lands on us as top-down management, from Unity Worldwide Ministries offering their edicts down to the churches, who are all autonomous anyway. We perceive a lack of direction in the Unity Worldwide Ministries. And from our perspective, that's what we're seeing. I'm not saying that they have a lack of direction. I'm saying from our board, our perception is there is a lack of direction. There's also a lack of commitment to the Unity Worldwide Ministries brand. About 6 years ago, they rolled out this really fancy looking logo that we see on our website. You've seen it. It's a little globe that's got lines through it. Funny we're talking about a globe. But one of my big beefs with Unity Worldwide Ministries is that they don't even have their own logo on their building. It's been around for 6 years. They have not saw the value of buying into their own brand, of promoting their own image to the world, in my perspective. I'm not saying they're not committed to extending the brand, but they're not committed to promoting it on their own building. I think that's a problem. Personally, from a marketing background standpoint, I think it's a huge problem, and I think it's a spiritual block that's happening there. We also don't feel much support from the Unity Worldwide Ministries. We are, again, autonomous, and we don't have to basically have their, blessing or whatever. But there's a disconnect that's happening with Unity. So that's some of the things that our board has come up with. And I want to emphasize that the board are your leaders. This is not anything that, as a new spiritual leader, that I am trying to dictate or force. These are things that we brought up in a very honest and open conversation. And I think it's important that the church know where we are, what we're thinking, and how your leadership is thinking, because we have the power to change things. We don't have to be stuck here. This doesn't have to be a fixed perspective, but it gives us a snapshot of where we're at, and we can move forward from here and decide how we want to do it. Some of the things we liked about our building: it's comfortable. This building is comfortable. We can have a nice little fellowship lunch afterwards. It's spacious. We got room in our sanctuary. We've got that little living room back there. The aquarium room was an incredible meditation experience. Can I get an amen from the board members? The fact that the church is ours. So many churches are churches in a box. Churches this size, most times, 9 out of 10 times, are churches in a box. And as you guys started years ago, we love the property here. We love the hill, the location, the fact that it's Summit. We love some of the artwork that's in the church. You never really notice. Turn around, look at the tree on the back wall. Somebody took a lot of love and energy to paint that tree. We walk in here, we don't even notice it. But there was probably a good 10, 20 hours into that tree right there, if not more. Who painted it? Cindy, did you paint that?
My sister Susan painted it.
Oh, beautiful. I didn't even know that, see? God bless you, Susan, if you're watching. We appreciate this. Some of the dislikes: we don't really care for our bathrooms. We love to see something improved. Oh, I get an amen right there, huh? Okay. We're not happy with our mortgage situation right now. And we'll skip the details of that for the sake of time. Taking care of the place can be cumbersome because there's few hands to do a lot of work. We don't like the windows. I said color, and I was like, oh, we took forever to find the color that we wanted in this church. We don't like the fence situation. You look out the window, the fence between our neighbors and ours fell down. We have to rectify that somehow. Doesn't look like they're going to do it. And I had a question about a kids' room. We haven't had children coming to our church. Is that a good allocation of our space, is to allocate that for children? It's a fair question. Not to saying I don't want a kids' room, but is that what we're serving right now? So we talked about the idea of a future. We like the idea in our name that we were a center. We talked about our name. We talked about the idea of not showing up in the world as a unity church, being a unity church, but rebranding ourselves as more of a spiritual center and less of a unity center. Still espousing the views of the unity church and the unity philosophy, but being more open and inclusive to other people who are on different paths. I think it's important that we took a look at this. And so over the next board meeting or two, we're probably going to really take a hard look at rebranding our name and rebranding ourselves. This is a big step. This is a huge step that your board has collectively come up with. This isn't the new guy coming in saying, oh, we're going to change things. No, it was a spiritually discerning process that we came through that let us arrive at this. And we certainly would value input, concern, everything. This isn't an edict. This is where we're at, and this is sort of where we're looking to go. And we want to hear from you. We want to know what your feelings and your thoughts are. It's very important because the church is not this building, it's the people. We're here because of you, not we're here because the building is here. The building can go away. We're still here. We're still a community. We don't want to have limits. Some of the things that we don't like about the idea, I can't tell you how many times over the 18 years I've been in Unity. Oh, Unity, is that like Unitarian Universalist? Have you heard that one? And then again, we're not breaking our association with Unity. I want to be clear about that. we will still be a unity church, but we're really going to look at how we brand our name and how we're reaching out into the community, because we believe we have a truth message that needs to be shared. And some names were thrown around. I will save those names for the sake of a board meeting and conversation, and maybe we'll have a couple of names that we can all come together on. I don't want to throw out anything and to confuse anybody or anything. But we don't want to be limited. We don't want to have this idea that, oh, we're possibly a cult or something. So, this is what your board came up with. And in the end of our retreat, we did form a vision and mission statement. And these took quite some time to come to. It's just a sentence. It wasn't said, oh, yes, this is what we should do. Each board member contributed to these vision and mission statements. So our new vision statement that we will ratify probably in our board meeting today and probably put in place by next week. With our actions, we are creating a prospering, loving, peaceful, and merciful world. Let's try that on. Let's say that together. With our actions, we are creating a prospering, loving, peaceful, and merciful world. We are changing our perspective. This is what this energy of us coming together every Sunday, this is the vision that we're holding for the whole world. We want to see the whole world as prospering, as loving, as peaceful, and merciful. That's the energy that we're putting out into the world. That's how we're coming together. And we're doing it with our actions. We're not just showing up and saying these words. We're putting our feet to the ground and making it happen. So our mission statement. We are a spiritual community that gives people the opportunity and space to change their lives. Let's say that together. We are a spiritual community that gives people the opportunity and space to change their lives. Gives them the opportunity and space to change their perspective. To come from rigidity into a fluidity. You guys on board?
Yeah.
Very powerful day yesterday. And what a blessing to be with each and every board member. Beautiful people. You have some strong leaders in this community. And I just want to end the talk today by giving thanks to them and to everybody for their involvement in this process. So let's just take this into a meditative prayer as we'll have Phil play our meditation song.